If the man with the burned map offers you a shortcut, say no, and keep walking. It was sometime after midnight when I first saw him, standing at the edge of the gas station parking lot just off Highway 73. I had been driving for hours, eyes strained, mind fogged with exhaustion, when I pulled over for coffee and a bathroom break. At first glance, he looked like any other hitchhiker, tall, lean, wearing a dusty coat, boots caked with dried mud. But something about him nodded me even in the dim sodium lights. His face was strangely pale, nearly gray, and in his hand he held a crumpled, half-charred map. The paper flapped in the soft breeze, crackling like dry leaves. I tried not to make eye contact, but I could feel his stare. Not just looking, studying. As I exited the store, coffee in hand, he stepped forward without a word, holding the map toward me like it was something sacred. His voice was low and dry, like wind scraping across gravel. "You're going the long way," he said. "There's a shortcut. Here." His finger, blackened with soot, traced a jagged path through unfamiliar lines that didn't match any roads I'd seen before. I stammered, unsure how to respond. "No thanks. I'm good with GPS." He smiled, not with his mouth, but with his eyes. Cold, knowing. "The road you're on has delays. My way is quicker. Just a turn through the old bypass. You'll be there before the sun's up." Then he whispered, "But only if you leave now." Everything in me screamed no, but curiosity clung to my tired brain like static. I took a picture of the map with my phone out of reflex, just in case. He grinned wider, turned, and vanished into the tree line like he'd never been there. No sound. No crunch of leaves. Just gone. Against every instinct I had, I took the turn about 20 miles up. I told myself it couldn't hurt. If it looked sketchy, I'd turn back. But there was no turning back. Not really. The shortcut wasn't on the GPS. The road was cracked, the lines faded. My radio picked up nothing but whispers, soft murmurs in languages I didn't recognize. And the deeper I went, the weirder it got. The air turned dense, syrupy. Trees leaned in unnaturally, their branches like arms reaching across the road. I saw things, blurs in the rearview mirror, figures on the shoulder that vanished when I looked directly at them. My headlights flickered, not out of malfunction, but like they were afraid. That's when I saw him again. The man with the burned map stood dead center in the road, arms spread. I slammed the brakes. He didn't move. He just smiled and spoke words that didn't make sense but somehow made my ears bleed. I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. I was parked in my driveway, car off, keys in my lap. But the photo of the map? Gone. Replaced with a different image, one I never took. It was a picture of me, standing on that strange road, eyes pitch black, holding the burned map in my own hand. I've had 3 nosebleeds since. My dreams are full of twisting roads and pale figures that walk backward. Sometimes I wake up with soot on my fingers. I haven't driven since. I won't. Because the shortcut doesn't lead to where you're going, it leads to where he came from. Rules to survive the burned map shortcut. 1. If anyone offers you a shortcut and shows you a burned map, say no immediately. Do not engage. Do not take a photo. The map is cursed. 2. Never take unfamiliar turns late at night, especially ones not on GPS. The road you enter is not the one you'll leave. 3. If your radio begins to whisper in unknown languages, turn back immediately. If turning back is no longer possible, lock your doors and don't respond to anything you see. 4. Do not exit the vehicle under any circumstances once you're on the road. The moment your foot touches the ground, you are marked. 5. If you see yourself in a photo you never took, it's already too late. Burn it. Pray. And never drive at night again. I followed his words. I burned the map in a rusted metal bin behind the gas station, the flames flickering higher than seemed natural, almost angry, as if the map itself resisted. It screamed as it curled into ash, or maybe that was the wind. I don't know. The old man didn't stick around to see it happen. As soon as he handed me that lighter and whispered those final words, he disappeared behind the rows of dimly lit pumps, swallowed by shadows. I called out, but no one answered. There were no cars. No attendants. Just silence and the crackle of the fire. The moment the final corner of the map crumbled to black, the lights of the gas station cut out. Every bulb burst at once. I stood frozen in the dark, hands trembling and covered in soot. My phone was dead. My keys were gone. I had placed them in my pocket minutes ago, but now there was only empty fabric. My car door was ajar, the driver's seat soaked as if something had been sitting there, something wet and wrong. And across the windshield, Smeared in what I prayed was mud, were the words. I never needed the map. I drove anyway. I had no choice. Whatever had touched my car had left something behind, an unnatural cold in the air, the faintest scent of rotting meat, and a slow, rhythmic sound in the backseat, like someone breathing through shattered lungs. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I pushed the accelerator until the dial blinked red and the engine screamed. But no matter how fast I drove, I was always alone on the road. No cars passed. No towns emerged. Just forest pressing against the edges of the highway like a mouth trying to close. At some point, the radio turned on by itself. No music, just a voice, soft and feminine, repeating the same thing. He's in the trunk. He's in the trunk. He's in the trunk. I ignored it. I kept driving. I prayed it was a malfunction, a trick, a dream. But then the voice changed. It used my name. It whispered things only my mother could know. My childhood scars. My buried guilt. And worst of all, it began to laugh in the exact cadence of my dead brother. I pulled over near mile marker 237, or what should have been. The sign was there, but the numbers were backwards. The trees around me leaned inward, branches twisted like reaching fingers. I stumbled out of the car, breath sharp and shallow, and opened the trunk with shaking hands. There was nothing. Just the spare tire, a ratty old blanket, and the smell of charred paper. When I turned around, the car was gone. Not stolen. Not driven off. Just gone. Only the cracked imprint of its tires in the dirt remained, leading back down the road to nowhere. I walked for hours, maybe days. Time had no meaning anymore. The sun refused to rise. Every step sounded like an echo, as if someone, or something, walked just a breath behind. I never saw it, but I felt it, a presence stitched into the air, waiting, hungry. Eventually, a new car approached. Headlights bright in the blackness. It stopped beside me. The driver rolled down his window and offered me a ride. He looked normal. Kind, even. I opened the door. The passenger seat was covered in a map, burned around the edges, my name etched in the center and something red and sticky. I didn't get in. I walked into the woods instead. The voice followed me. The breathing never stopped. And somewhere between the trees, I found a mirror nailed to a tree trunk, cracked in the center. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. If you find this, if you see the map, burn it. Pray. And for the love of everything, never drive at night again. The flames from the fire pit licked the edges of the map as I watched it curl and blacken. The ink ran like blood, the lines disappearing into ash. The night around me had become unnaturally still, no rustle of trees, no chirping insects. Even the wind had ceased. It was as if the world was holding its breath, waiting to see if I would dare to try and remember what I saw on that cursed paper. I tried to forget the roads that led to nowhere, the red crosses where no towns existed, and the looping symbols that pulsed in my memory like open wounds. But I remembered. I remembered everything. My phone, still slick with my sweat, buzzed once. Just once. A notification, though I'd shut it off. The screen flickered to life without my touch, and there it was again, a crude, digital copy of the map. Not a photo. A drawing. New, moving, updating in real time. The red X's blinked like eyes opening. I didn't touch anything. I didn't save it. I didn't want to see it again. But it wanted me to. It had chosen me. I dropped the phone, but it didn't break. Instead, the screen shattered from the inside, cracks forming a web that spidered outward, lines mimicking the very roads I'd sworn to forget. Roads to towns that shouldn't exist. Roads to places I now knew weren't meant for people. That night, the dreams returned. I was behind the wheel again, the gas pedal soft underfoot, the hum of tires on asphalt somehow too loud, like a whisper screaming in my ear. I was driving a highway that looped back on itself, the same mile markers passing over and over, yet with every loop, the world outside changed. The moon grew larger and redder. The trees bled. The headlights stretched too far into the distance, revealing things not meant to be seen. Things with limbs too long and faces too smooth, standing motionless at the edge of the road, waiting. Watching. In one loop, I passed a car identical to mine. The same rust spot on the left fender. The same scratch on the windshield. The other me inside didn't look at me, but I saw his eyes in the rear view as he passed. They were black and endless. He smiled. I didn't. I screamed, and he just drove on. When I awoke, my shoes were wet with mud. My keys were in the ignition. My car sat outside, engine cooling, and the odometer had added 247 miles. I had no memory of driving. But on the passenger seat sat a Polaroid, fresh and warm. In it, I stood next to a gas station that doesn't exist on any map, giving a thumbs up to someone off frame. My eyes were rolled back in the photo. My mouth was open in a wide, unnatural grin. I don't remember taking it. But I was holding the map. I started seeing things in reflections, faint at first, then clearer. In rearview mirrors. In puddles. Even in the window of the microwave. Roads. Red X's. Town signs that flickered from English to runes. My eyes would glaze over, and I'd find myself tracing paths with my finger on my kitchen counter, whispering names I never learned and shouldn't have known. One night, I couldn't resist. I drove again. This time, I didn't even realize I'd left the house until I saw the familiar road sign, "Welcome to Dagger Bend." A town not on any map, but the one in my dreams. The car pulled itself forward. The headlights dimmed, and the streetlights blinked out behind me one by one. I passed gas stations with no pumps. Motels with no doors. Houses with open windows but no glass, just blank space where rooms should be. People, or things wearing people, stood motionless, as if waiting for applause. In the middle of the town was a fountain, and in that fountain, rising from black, still water, was a statue of me. Cracked and moss-covered, yet unmistakably my face. The inscription read, "The last visitor who returned." I never told anyone. Who would believe me? Who would understand the dread that clings to me now, the sense that I'm always being watched from some angle I can't quite turn to see? I haven't driven since. I won't. But last night, someone slipped something under my door. A new map. Different routes. More X's. And a note written in my own handwriting. "It's your turn to show someone the way." And now, I can hear tires on the road outside. Even though I live on the 4th floor. Even though I sold my car months ago. Even though it's 3:13 a.m., and no one should be driving. If you're reading this, don't look out the window.